Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's been a long time since I've made a video like this, but today I want to show you what I have recently read and also show you my TBR for the next 4 to 6 weeks I'm giving myself. So let me just start off with the book that I just read, and I only have one little review today, but I want to talk about it and I don't have any other, I couldn't make a whole video about just this book. But I just recently finished The Fire by Night by Teresa Messineo. This book came with a family reading crate, and if I'm remembering, it was the Shiro one, like the women and girls hero type crate. But this was a wonderful book. It took me a few days longer to finish it than I think it should have, but that's just because I've been busy. Had I had all the time in the world, I probably would have finished this in 2 days because that's how good it was. This was an excellent book about two nurses in World War II, and it's told all from their perspective, and it kind of flips back and forth between them in the war and what they're doing currently, and then their path leading up to where they were. And it kind of follows both their stories, and they're both like the best of friends. They became best friends, I think, in nursing school, and so it flips back and forth between their two stories, and then it kind of concludes together in the end. But I don't want to give away too much, and I never know how much to talk about that won't be too spoilery, but suffice it to say that this was an excellent book, very powerful and moving, and I love that it gave a completely different perspective than what we usually get about World War II. Usually we get, obviously, the victim perspective, all the people that suffered during the Holocaust, or folks that were hiding other people. Of course you hear about that, and then you hear about the soldiers and from their perspective, but I've never read a book where the main focus is the nurses, which, I mean, after reading this book, they are beyond heroes in my opinion. Actually, I looked up Teresa Messineo just to see if she had any more books, because I want more that are like this, but this was her first novel, and she spent years researching the material to write this book to give a very accurate account of what World War II nurses would have had to go through. And just, it was completely horrible, of course, but fascinating. And I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I want everyone to read it. Part of the reason why I have a channel like this on YouTube where I can talk about books and homeschooling is because when I find a book that I love to force other people to read it if at all possible. And I know I can't force people, so I just gush about it and bug everybody until they pick it up and read it like they should. And I don't think anybody in my real life around me is going to pick this up. It took me a while to pick it up because for some reason I wasn't interested in reading it for a while. I thought World War II, I know everything, but been there, done that, heard a lot of stories, don't feel like reading more. I'm sad it took me so long, but I loved it. I'm so glad I picked it up. So I'm going to stop gushing about that and get into my TBR. And I'm excited to show you these because I just picked them up today from the library. So I have to read them. I have to get them done. And I love that. I love getting books from the library because they kind of force me to read, because I'm like, oh, I only have X amount of days left before I have to finish this book. So in the same theme as Fire by Night, I found The Perfect Nazi by Martin Davidson, and it says Unmasking My SS Grandfather. This was in the nonfiction part. Ooh, it has pictures. This was in the nonfiction section of my library, and I picked this up because, of course, after reading the book I just finished, I am in a World War II mood right now. But this sounded pretty fascinating because it's about a British man whose grandfather was in World War II, and he goes on a quest just to find out more about his grandfather and his involvement. And as he digs deeper, he realizes that his grandfather not only was a Nazi for the Germans, but he was the ideal Nazi, the perfect Nazi. He did his job really well which makes him, I mean, basically an evil person, right? From our perspective today, the perfect Nazi is the epitome of evil. So it's about this man's journey to uncovering those truths and then having to deal with that and reconcile that this man is also a grandfather. I'm not sure, after reading, I just skimmed the back, but I'm not sure if he actually knew this grandfather or if he passed away before he was born or before he could remember him. But it would be even more disturbing to have those good memories of just a loving grandparent and then find out about atrocities that they committed and participated in the past, and how you would deal with that. So I'm really interested to read this and get into it and make my mind hurt a little bit, because I love books like that that make you kind of question, well, what if it was me or someone I loved or my family, and how would you feel? How would you deal with that? I don't know. The next thing that I got was Mine by Courtney Cole. And I got this one because it was on the new shelf section. So when you walk in our library, there's a big wall shelf right as you walk in, and it's for all the new books that they've just gotten in the last month or so. And I always go check out and see what's new, what's fresh. And this is a brand new book. I think I might be the first person to have checked it out from the library, but it just sounded super juicy, and I want a juicy, like fast-paced, thrillery type read, just like with drama and stuff like that. So this, again, after skimming the back, is about a woman who is in the midst of a hurricane in Florida. So she's kind of like stuck in her house during a hurricane, and she goes through her husband's iPad and discovers nude photos of some other woman on the iPad. And so she's stuck there trying to figure out what she's going to do about it. Is she going to confront her husband, or is she going to take some revenge into her own hands? And I guess that means maybe confront this other woman. I don't know if it's someone that she knows, but it's about basically, I think, two women that are pitted against each other, and obviously love and betrayal, like a love triangle betrayal type thing. And the front cover just looked really sinister and things, so I think this might take a really dark turn. And so this is just the kind of juicy book that I feel like I need to read right now, and I hope it's good, because the only problem with books like this is either they can be really like on the edge of your seat, thrillery and nail biting, you know, waiting to see what happens, or they can be really cheesy and just dumb, like a bad horror movie or something. So the next thing that I picked up was The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore, and I picked this up just because it looked like a newer book and the cover was pretty, and so I flipped it open and skimmed it, and then I looked it up on Goodreads, and I saw that it had a lot of really good reviews, so that kind of cinched the deal for me, because I do look up reviews for books on Goodreads if I'm not sure if I want to read it, and then if I see that it has like really good reviews on it, then I feel like it might be worth my time to pick up. I know sometimes I have loved books in the past that don't get the best reviews on Goodreads, so that's not always a good indication of what you should read, but sometimes it helps me out and helps me make that decision. But so this one had really good reviews, and so I picked this up, and this is about the time right before we get electricity in the United States, right before it's invented, and it's about a lawyer who I guess is, he's working on a case where Thomas Edison sues this other guy, and now I can't remember his name. Was it Westinghouse? George Westinghouse. Let's see, has been sued by Thomas Edison over $1 billion question: who invented the light bulb and holds the right to the power to power the country? So, sounds intriguing. Not a book I would typically pick up, but again, because of the glowing reviews and just because the cover was pretty, I'm going to give it a shot, because sometimes I get pleasantly surprised by subjects that I previously didn't think I would be interested in, and obviously I've never thought, where can I find a book about intrigue and scandal regarding the light bulb? I never have until now, and now I want to know what happens. So the last book I picked up, I am particularly excited for, and it was the last one. I was just in a hurry. I could hear my kids getting a little restless in the children's section. But this was the last book I picked up. I skimmed the inside, and I had to grab it. But this is a YA book, and it's called The Lines We Cross by Rhonda Abdel Fattah. And I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it's my best effort. It says, when lines are drawn, we all choose sides. And as I said, this was a YA novel. This sounded like something very, again, one of those mind-bending books that really, like, make you question yourself type of books, similar to the one with the Nazi grandfather. This is about a boy or a young man whose family is very anti-immigration, probably even to the point of being racist, very prejudiced is how it came across. And then there ends up being a new girl that comes to his school who immigrates. I can't remember from where. Where did she immigrate from? Oh, she's a Muslim refugee from Afghanistan. So she comes from Afghanistan, and she's this beautiful Muslim girl. And I guess what happens is he ends up forming a friendship with her and just kind of realizing, like, she's a wonderful person, very smart. And so he's getting all his ideas challenged from what he hears at home by this real person he gets to see in his school. And then as the school year progresses, she's sort of making a name for herself and winning awards and stuff, and people are getting upset over the fact that she's doing so well in school and things like that. And so it's about this boy's, how he's basically grappling with his parents' political views versus this real person that's sitting in front of him, who, you know, he's probably hearing bad things at home and then looking at her and being like, but she is not bad, like I always thought. That's kind of the synopsis of the cover, or what I got from it. So that sounded, I don't know, this sounds like something, provided that it's well written and good, that probably everyone needs to read. So I'm really excited to get into this and read this, because again, I love books that challenge the way we think and the way we feel, and old concepts and things like that. But that is my review of The Fire by Night, and then my TBR probably for the next, like I said, month to 6 weeks. I will probably have to renew these because I don't think I'm going to get them all done in the time that the library allots, but I'll renew them and hopefully I can get them all read and maybe come back to you guys with a review. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Let me know if you've read any of these, and let me know if you're going to read The Fire by Night, because I would love to know that I influenced someone to read this, and then come back and let me know what you thought. Or if you have read it, let me know if you loved it, because I did. It was just one of those books that spoke to me and I loved it. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you all again really soon.